is the very first LSW class ever taught at One Shepherd. So,
and being the first class, Brent nailed it. He went through the history of the automatic rifle from the show all the way up to the current M27 as issued by the United States Marine Corps. Here, take a listen.
All right, starting off, history of the LSW and its use from World War I to present, and here at One Shepherd. So starting off with World War I. By the way, who knows what picture that is? It's an illustration. Bellewood, right? It's Marines sticking freaking whole hard steel into a German's chest. Ah! Alright, next. Alright, World War I, machine guns. Look at that thing. Everybody see that thing? What does that look like to you?
Looks big.
Big, heavy, fucking tripods and shit. Yeah. You can't transport that easily, right?
No.
It takes a whole crew, i.e. crew serve weapon. Okay? That was the machine gun of World War I. And today there's very many similarities between that. Okay? But the big thing I want you guys to take away from this is it is big. It's heavy. Alright? It's large. Not easily portable. Crew serve. So the introduction of the automatic rifle starts in World War I. Who knows what this thing is called? No, we got a lot of little history buffs in here, right? What's the country origin?
France.
The French, right? Right. Shosha. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the French model fucking name there, but it translates roughly into machine rifle model 1915. Okay? When the U.S. Expeditionary Force came to France, we did not have stuff like this. We had to get it from the French. So the first automatic rifle in U.S. military, essentially, that was employed by us was this. We got it from the French. All right. French devised the concept of walking fire. This was a practice in use in 1916, in which the Shosha light machine rifle was used accompanying advancing squads of riflemen towards the enemy trenches. So essentially, the machine guns, like we said, were too big and heavy to follow the troops during the assault. So you would have French with these Shoshas, and they walk and fire with the infantry that are moving with their regular standard bolt-action rifles with fixed bayonets. Okay? So, as a French practice, started about midway through the First World War, where formations of Shosha armed infantrymen marched straight across no man's land into enemy trenches to suppress with rates of fire. Soldiers were instructed to stay in step and fire their weapons from the underarm position. Underarm, not like in the shoulder, right? Because it's heavier than your average rifle. Every other step. So essentially, it'd be something like this. Take a step. Brrrah, brrrah, right? And you just keep marching towards the enemy trench. Doing that shit. Sounds crazy, right? Yeah. That was it. All right. First TO American-made automatic rifle. Look familiar?
Yep. Oh yeah.
PAR, right? Browning automatic rifle. Now, I want to point. U.S. troops call this the BAR, not bar. Okay, you will hear people refer to it as the bar. Historically speaking, that's inaccurate. All right. Troops call this the BAR, Browning Automatic Rifle. All right, in its exception, the M1918 BAR instead was used as a shoulder-fired rifle capable of both semi-automatic and fully automatic fire. First issued in September of 1918 to the Allied Expeditionary Forces. So, September of 1918, towards the end of World War I, right? Yep. So it didn't see much service in World War I, but it still, nonetheless, was introduced. Another key concept I want to point out here, shoulder-fired, capable of, what's this word? Both semi-automatic and fully automatic fire. Think about those big heavy machine guns and the Shosha. What were those only? Only fully automatic fire, right? This sucker right here, what's this young devil dog doing right here? He's taking aim. It looks like he's shooting it like a rifle, right? Because that's what it is, fellas. It's an automatic rifle, right? You have the capability of serving as both a rifleman and as automatic riflemen fire. If you need to take that precision shot, you can do so. If you need to lay down suppressive fire, you can do so. That's your job. All right. So shortly after the end of World War I, the USMC and U.S. Army adopted something similar to the French's walking fire and renamed it marching fire. Same shit. All right. Every other step. All right. In tune. And they developed their TTPs and SOPs off of that. All right, moving into World War II. Same weapon system, however, upgrades, right? Some time has passed since World War I. We're in World War II now. We now have the M18 Browning automatic rifle, and there's two different variants here. We got the M18A1 and the M18A2. Big difference, look at the bipods, look at the flash hider. Carrying handle added, okay? But other than that, same weapon system. Here we go. In an attempt to overcome the BAR's limited continuous fire capability, the U.S. Army combat divisions increasingly began to specify 2 BAR fire teams per squad, following the practice of the Marine Corps, 1 team, which would typically provide covering fire until the magazine was empty, whereas the 2nd team would open fire, thus allowing the 1st team to reload. So what that's saying in a nutshell is the Marine Corps was right and the Army was wrong. Surprise, surprise. Okay? The Marine Corps would put a BAR in each fire team, whereas the Army would only have 1 per squad per se. Okay? Well, they learned very quickly in World War II that the way the Marines were doing it was better. Okay? Because the Marines were able at the fire team level to have that internal fire support, right? That BAR gunner suppressing, while the rest of the riflemen are closing with and killing the enemy and sticking that 6 inches of cold hard steel in the fucking chest of Japanese. All right? In the Pacific, the BAR was often employed at the point or tail of a patrol of an infantry column, where the firepower could help break contact on a jungle trail in the event of an ambush. After combat experience showed the benefits of maximizing portable automatic fire in the squad-sized formations, the Marine Corps began to increase the number of BARs in combat divisions from 513 per division in 1943 to 867 per division in 1945. All right, so the BAR was proving itself, and the Marine Corps said, "Give me more of that. I want some more of that." All right. BAR tactics evolved around the German Army's use of the medium machine gun to gain fire superiority, and the Japanese Army's use of machine guns in fixed position pillboxes. Although the dynamics differed in practice, the practices were the same. The 2 BAR gunners would either lay a base of fire and briefly suppress the enemy machine guns long enough for the rest of the riflemen to bound into the enemy's flank and destroy those machine gun teams from a new attack angle. Or the riflemen laid a base of fire, allowing the BAR gunners to bound and flank from the attack at a new angle. Okay? So also think about like last night, right? With you guys. You took contact. Remember you started bounding. If you had an LSW up there in front, how awesome would it have been for the LSW gunner to start laying down that base of fire to initiate that bounding sequence, right? This is shit that the Marines were doing in World War II in the Pacific. The relatively light weight of the BAR compared to the light, medium, or heavy machine guns meant that maneuver was achieved by a single BAR gunner. Additionally, since the BAR was a rifle, only a single gunner was necessary to operate the BAR. Maneuver and operations by a single gunner was the key to success. In World War II, the BAR was used to destroy enemy machine guns. So here was like a typical loadout of a Marine BAR gunner, right? BAR, you had your BAR belt, which held 6 magazines, and then E-tool and other supporting gear and stuff like that. A little clean kit. So in short, what did the BAR give us? You could fire a high volume of fire to break up enemy concentrations, or provide concentrated fire to surprise enemy crew-served weapons. BAR man was very discriminate, focusing only on showstoppers of the squad's movement. We'll read this again. BAR men were very discriminate, focusing only on the showstoppers of the squad's movement. All right, remember this. Keep ringing back to this target precedence. All right. So we're moving on to Korea. This is 3 freaking wars. The BAR is slaying bodies now. All right. During the Korean War in the early 1950s, tactical doctrine of the BAR provided remarkably effective against the North Koreans and Chinese forces. The communist militaries learned quickly to mitigate U.S. machine gun teams that were less maneuverable, and they took precarious time to set into operation. In the defense, the communist troops employed light trench mortars coupled with their own machine guns to suppress the U.S. machine gun teams before they could be put into operation. So this is the enemy adapting to our tactics and TTPs, and they're effective at doing that, all right? So what we came up with, here again, it was the BAR gunners who broke the communist forces. The squads would deploy with 2 BAR and designated marksmen, followed the attack of the machine gun teams. The maneuverable BAR gunners routinely outflanked the enemy's crew-served weapons, machine guns, and mortars to reduce or destroy them while the U.S. machine gun teams set in their weapons in place. In this way, the BAR, or 2 BAR per rifle squad, established the tactical doctrine identifying and destroying enemy crew-served weapons as their default highest priority target. All right, moving on to Vietnam. So, in the onset of Vietnam, there are still some BARs, but it was mostly provided to the indigenous ARVN forces, okay? When we go into Vietnam, we have kind of a new automatic rifle, all right? They started experimenting a little bit, and essentially all they were doing was taking your typical standard infantry rifle and designating somebody as that automatic rifleman, okay? That was just the intro. So here's a variant. So essentially what happened at the end of World War II, the U.S. Army did a study. It's like, hey, we got all these different weapons. We got Thompson submachine guns shooting 45 caliber, pistol rounds. We got M1 Garand shooting 30-06. We got BAR shooting 30-06. We got machine guns shooting 30-06. Okay? We got M1 carbine shooting 30 carbine. So there was a push to standardize all this. Okay? And that's how we got the 7.62 by 51 millimeter round. Their answer to this was the M14. The M14 was supposed to be the jack of all trades. Okay? It was supposed to be taking all those roles, submachine gun, automatic rifle, and combining them into one simple weapons platform with one universal caliber to ease up supply and make it simpler. Okay? So what they had is they had the M15, okay, which was select fire. You had the M14E2 later, which had the addition of bipods, has a different flash hider and a little bit different front sight post there, butt plate. And then you go down here to M14A1. These are all variations of the M14 that came out during Vietnam for the automatic rifleman role. I want to point out something to you. The M14, all right, some of you know semi-automatic and select fire, right? But the average riflemen did not have that select fire capability. They installed this little plug in there that essentially made it semi-automatic only. Okay, that could easily be taken out and replaced with this selector switch, but only the automatic rifleman would have that selector switch to select to full auto. The standard infantryman had that plug in there and he was shooting semi-automatic only. Okay, so the automatic rifleman, although he had a variation of the M14, it was essentially the same rifle. Just had that select fire capability. M16. So when the M16 came out, well, we're no longer using the M14, so we're not using the M14 variant for the automatic rifle, right? So essentially all they did is they issued a bipod. They said, here's your bipod, you're an automatic rifleman. Is that going to work well? I mean, maybe, I don't know. Probably not, right? So that was it. Okay, not the greatest of solutions, right? Here's this brand new rifle. We still like this automatic rifleman concept, but everybody's got the same exact rifle, no difference. But you can have a bipod for yours. Okay. Yeah. Post Vietnam. What's this? M249 squad automatic weapon. So you're fine. You're fine. following Vietnam, as with all wars, they do studies. The Army found that we had to fire bazillions of ammunition, bazillions of rounds of freaking 5.56 to kill just one enemy combatant. Okay? Marine Corps looked at that and said, well, fucking, our guys are shooting too much ammunition. We need to be more, we need to be more judicious in our engagement. Okay? Our guys are spraying and praying instead of, picking their targets and engaging. They're just shooting wildly into the jungle. The Army looked at it and said, we need more fucking weapons to fire more ammo. Okay? So you had two different points of view over the same research, pretty much. So the Marine Corps drew one key opposing lesson from Vietnam that the war then did to the Army. The U.S. Army found that their firepower shortfall at the squad level and decided the higher rates of fire were needed. The Marine Corps found that on an average we expended far too many service rounds to kill one person. Since the U.S. Army is the lead in service in regards to acquisition of small arms, it was this firepower shortfall logical fallacy that brought on in the 1970s and into the 1980s that gave us the M249 SAW, which is, although they put it in an automatic rifleman role, it's actually a light machine gun. It is not an automatic rifle. So this is the M249 squad automatic weapon. Okay, it's belt fed. Everybody see this? This big fucking box down here, or you might see what's referred to as a nut sack, which I'll show you guys here in a minute. But this is
It's gonna be a strike on your YouTube channel.
no, this saw self-identifies as a male. Right. This weapon system is belt fed. Okay, it's belt fed. It's a light machine gun. It has a quick change barrel. Okay, I have an example. This is not a saw. This is called a shrike. But you will see, this is a belt-fed weapon system. Okay, it has a top cover, and you load belts of ammunition. Can a rifleman be handed a belt of ammunition and load that belt into his service rifle?
No.
No, he cannot, right? Well, you freaking recording only the self-identifying as a male
No,
saw shit?
I did not get
see
that
that.
Could be some UCNA
No.
action.
Now, although the saw did have a built-in feature that it would accept standardized magazines, it couldn't work the other way around, though, right? The saw gunner could not throw his belt of ammunition to a rifleman, and that rifleman be able to use that same magazine or that same belt of ammunition without stripping the round, which is time-consuming. There's no time for that in combat, right? Mm-hmm. And if you guys have any experience with the saw, feeding from a magazine was not a very reliable means of shooting that weapon system. Okay, it was kind of like a last-ditch effort. Here is a chart. Here kind of gives the differences between machine guns and auto rifles and DM rifles. Okay, just to point out a few things. Machine guns. Types of fire: sustained high volume, auto rifle, intermediate, and medium volume. Belt fed, box or drum fed, auto rifle, magazine fed. So think difference between the SAW and the BAR. Okay? Machine guns, crew serve weapons, auto rifle, single warrior. And then down here at the bottom you have weight. Light machine guns, 60 pounds. Automatic rifles, 20 pounds. All right? Very big difference there.
Was that with the ammo weight as well?
Yeah. I mean, that's just comparing like the SAW with ammunition compared to, like a BAR or an infantry automatic rifle that we're going to talk about.
Brent, do you want me to pass this around?
Yes, please.
Hey Brent, in the Marine Corps, if you're just a big guy, they just give you a machine gun?
Yes.
That's,
No, we'll talk about that again. I just want to make sure I don't run out of time.
yeah.
If you're unlucky, they give you a radio too.
So this is the M27 Infantry automatic rifle. Okay. Now again, the Army is in charge of procurement and everything else. Okay. So that's how the Marine Corps ended up with the SAW. Even though their conclusion of the studies conducted after Vietnam favored more something like this, you know, like a Browning automatic rifle concept as opposed to a light machine gun concept for the automatic rifleman. Because the Army's so big, they're the ones that do all the research, procurement, and everything else. That's how the Marine Corps ended up with the SAW, okay? But the Marine Corps eventually, especially when the global war on terrorism happened, we started getting our own money, right? We're not getting secondhand shit no more. Said, no, we're gonna fucking do this right now, okay? So the M27 Infantry automatic rifle came about. Next. December 2009. Key metrics of the M27. Suppressive fire effects, total target exposure time, time to advance onto the objective from cover, ammo expended, and time to reload. They tested those categories for the M27 versus the M249 squad automatic weapon. The IAR significantly outperformed the M249 in suppression, and that's hits on target in a compressed timeline. Okay? Who do you think? Why do you think that is?
More accurate weapon system. It's more familiar.
Okay.
You're not just lighting them up, you're actually aiming.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're looking at an actual capability of putting accurate fire and suppressing them with accurate fire, as opposed to just putting burst of fire, a cone of fire into an area and suppressing it with, you know, a bunch of impacts. We're actually putting accurate rounds on target and quicker, right?
It's not the sound or the smoke that counts, but hits.
Correct. So actual aimed fire can suppress a target better than a bunch of rounds just impacting all over around them. Go back. The IR used significantly less ammunition than the M249. Imagine that. In order to achieve the same number of hits on target. So again, you put a target out there, you shoot at it with a burst. Now remember, the SAW is a full automatic weapon. There is no semi-automatic with SAW. So you have to shoot a burst, as opposed to the M27. There's no significant difference in reload times or stoppages, though the IR did perform slightly better. The IR is a key component to enabling the USMC Rifle Squad to function as a system by leveling movement, portability, maneuverability across all personnel. Reduces the visibility, identification of location of the automatic rifleman to the enemy. Okay, remember we talked about target presence. We've talked about this multiple times already, right? The enemy does the same shit, guys. They're looking for our patrol leaders. They're looking for our RTOs. They're looking for our squad automatic riflemen. They're looking for our machine gunners. Well, guess what? If you have something like an IAR or something like an LSW that looks a lot like the standard rifle issued to every One Shepherd warrior, it's hard to do target precedence, right? If you're the enemy looking at us, because it all looks the same. It's harder for them to determine who exactly is the light support weapon carrier. Utilizing a common ammunition. M27 IR uses 5.56 magazines. LSW that you got right in front of you uses 5.56 magazines. Okay? No belts, nothing. Same magazine, same ammunition. Maintaining the ability to provide high volumes of fires when dictated by FMTC. There we go. Mission, enemy, terrain and weather, troops and support available, time available. Okay, so that essentially was the history of the automatic rifle for the U.S. military.
We hope you found this interesting and informative. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and tune in for more One Shepherd content.